name's Jade and today I will be going through the books I read in November. I read 8 books in November. I had to think about how many fingers it took to make the number 8. That consisting of 2 graphic novels, 1 poetry book, it doesn't really feel like a collection, and then 5 novels. The first book I finished this month was All of You, Every Single One by Beatrice Hitchman. Bea wrote Petite Mort, which I read earlier this year. I'll leave my video where I discuss it down below. This one came out this year. It's gorgeous, look at it. Bea was my dissertation supervisor during my undergrad, so I have a lot of respect for her and I really wanted to support her and get her new book. And I wanted to read it before it did the thing where it sits on the shelf forever and then you never get around to reading it. I audiobooked this one. I also audiobooked Petite Mort. I enjoyed both the audiobooks. I think I enjoyed this one a little more than Petite Mort though. One of the narrators is the same and then there's another new one and it bounces between the two of them. We follow a whole host of characters in this book and it's kind of really important to the plot. There are main characters I guess, but it's about the group of them more than anything else. All of you, every single one. I definitely think of her 2 novels, I preferred this one a little. It's my favourite of the 2. I just adored the characters and the more I read, the more attached to them I became. The more engrossed in their story. Like in the beginning I was kind of like, yeah, it's okay, I'm having a fun time I guess. But the more I read, the more engrossed and addicted I became, the more I needed to know what happened. Stories weave together and there's a mystery that kind of slowly unfolds. It takes place in 1910s primarily in Vienna and I loved that historical aspect of it. I loved spending my time there, and we're following essentially a bunch of queer people for the most part. The main couple is Julia and Eve, and then we also have Rolf, and they're all gay. What did I say on Goodreads? I don't know. I don't know what to say to you. I found this so intriguing and haunting. It was beautifully written with complex characters and stories that wove together in clever and satisfying ways. The more I read, the more invested I became. I'm still pondering on the end and what it means to me, but other than that, I found it difficult to fault. I recommend it if the premise catches your attention. Yeah, I think the end, it's not that it left me unsatisfied. It's split into 2 sections almost, and I don't know what to make of the conclusion of the second one. I would give it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. I'm not 100% sure, but I did really enjoy it and I do think it's really clever, so I think it deserves a 9 out of 10. Next, I marathoned a whole trilogy this month, and I might as well just talk about them all together. And that is the Cursebreakers trilogy by Bridgette Kemmer. So the first one being A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, although it's more kind of inspired by Beauty and the Beast. It's like quite different in a lot of ways. But our Prince Ren is cursed to relive autumn over and over and over again until he can make a woman fall in love with him. And during this season, he will turn into a beast at some point. And this has happened hundreds of times. And he keeps killing people, innocent people, essentially. He's killed all of his staff apart from one guard who is so resourceful that he's managed to survive them all, and he's not yet made any of the girls fall in love with him. Killed so many that the enchantress that cursed him gave Grey, his guard, the ability to go into other worlds and pull girls out from there to bring to this one. So Grey goes out and pulls in Harper, our other lead protagonist, and we go from there. She's so feisty, just wants to do the best thing. I loved her, I'm rooted for her so hard. I really enjoyed Ren. I enjoyed all the characters in this one, to be honest. I enjoyed this one. I had a fun time, and I think I can say that for all 3 of the books. Like as a whole, that's how I think of this trilogy. It's a fun trilogy. I don't think it's the most complex or particularly well done in that sense, but I had fun reading it. I really enjoyed all of them, and I'm definitely going to read more of her work in the future. The characters in this one, they didn't fall flat for me, but I felt like they could have been a little bit richer, but I enjoyed their interactions. I enjoyed spending time with them. The editing in this one wasn't the best. I found a lot of like silly mistakes and stuff, but I found a lot of them, so it's just like something that caught my attention. Yeah, I think the editing could have been stronger and the writing a little bit more fleshed out. The world, while it's exciting, it doesn't feel the richest to me in terms of fantasy worlds, and I think that has something to do with the map, because the map feels very basic. It's not very detailed, and we've only got like a very small part of the world that we can see. Yeah, solid starter book. I was really invested in the story. It never felt like a chore to read. 8 out of 10 to the first one. And then we have the second one, A Heart So Fierce and Broken. I definitely definitely think the characters felt a little stronger in this one. Whatever it was that I was having problems with in the first one, I didn't have in this one, and I didn't have it in the last one either. We follow different perspectives in this one to perspectives we follow in A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and I kind of missed our main characters from A Curse So Dark and Lonely. Like, I wanted to see what was going on with them. I did really like our new character, and I really like shipped the relationship. I enjoyed all of that stuff that happened. I think part of that is also we're traveling for a lot of this book. I think the plot could have been stronger, and the end happened really quickly. Like, the climax wasn't very climactic at all. I kind of guessed what was going to happen, and I wasn't mad about that. I just wanted more payoff because we were building to it this whole time, whereas that was not the case at all in this one. Like, the end of this one was really cool. So my problem with the first one was the characters and the writing, and my problem with this one was the plot. So it was kind of like they were balancing each other out, and I thought, well, maybe the third one, A Vow So Bold and Deadly, could combine the two and it could be everything I want. And in this one we see from all four perspectives that we've previously seen from, and I really enjoyed that aspect. That's kind of what I wanted from the second one in a way. And for the most part I was completely enthralled and was like, okay, this is the strongest one by far. I'm enjoying this one so much better. It's so complex, it's so interesting. And then we got to a point, and from then on everything else felt very rushed. And it happened very quickly. And again, we've been building all this time for this thing to happen, and then it just, like, I wasn't satisfied with the way things played out. It just got to a point and it happened really quickly, and for it to be kind of anticlimactic in a fantasy book in general is kind of annoying. Building is like such epic means, but for it to be the end of a trilogy is a bummer. It's a bummer. You want the end of the trilogy to be like the peak, and it really didn't feel like that. The peak felt like the first book. So up until that point I was like, this is the strongest book. Aside from my like frustrations about Harper's character, the end just like got on my nerves for a few different reasons, and that brought it down. I'm gonna do a quick little spoilery rant about the end of A Vow So Bold and Deadly. So if you've not read A Vow So Bold and Deadly, mute the screen until I put the book down. Ren's character, like, I know he did wrong things, I know, and I loved Grey, and I can't remember her name, Leah Mara, but like, they were being all lovey-dovey in this one, and I know that they had like a healthier start to their relationship or whatever than Ren and Harper, but the way Grey just kept dismissing Harper, and I'm like, she loves him, is no different to how you would react if something happened to Rara, whatever her name was, and he just kept dismissing her and being like, yeah, but my loyalty is with them now. And I was like, but you don't have to be so mean though, do you? You don't have to be so mean. You don't have to like take out Ren's mistakes on her. She tried. She saved you, bro. Chill out. I just was so mad, and she's trying so hard to do the right thing. Like, our main girl from the first book, the reason we went through any of this, she's the one that's like driving a lot of this story, and no one appreciates her for it. She gets so much crap from everyone. We don't see her as much as we see the others, I felt like. Like, we spent so much more time with Grey and the character from the second one, underused and underappreciated. Felt like high and mighty about it as well, because of the way things had played out, and I'm just like, I'm not here for it. I don't care. So Grey's now gonna become king of Emberfall. Ren's obviously a mess because that's all he knows to do. That's all he's ever wanted, was to do right by his people, and Grey acknowledges that he's made mistakes and he can learn from them and grow from them and do better, and he acknowledges that he's better for this position because he knows what's going on. And throughout the book we see him changing, and with Harper by his side he's becoming a better king. Just give him the chance. I don't understand why he wants to become king of Emberfall when he's gonna be having to go back and forth between that and Sly Shadow. Like, how are they gonna rule two countries at the same time? I don't understand what they're thinking. Why he didn't just let Ren be king. Throw him a bone. He's now like this sad little mess, and we end. The last chapter is so rushed. The thing we've seen between him and Harper is an argument resolved to work together within the space of 2 pages. Like, that's not enough. I need more time. It happened so ridiculously fast. Like, we killed, what was her name? The Enchantress. We killed her like that. Like, I didn't want the war to happen, but I wanted at least there to be the threat. I wanted them to be eyeing each other off, like stood ready to go, and then for it to all be called off. Like, I wanted the climax, and it didn't happen. I think it might have something to do with the first one was the longest, and then after that they got shorter and shorter, which is unusual for a fantasy book. Normally it's the other way round. It's frustrating as well because if it wasn't for all this, like, it would be so much higher up in my mind. It's always frustrating when it happens, when there's potential for you to really like something, but then something silly like that gets in the way. I think I'd give both of these also an 8 out of 10. They all have problems for me, and while they're all fun and I enjoyed them, I can't stand her and say like they're some of the best fantasy books I've ever read. I can say it's a really fun trilogy. Her characters are really fun to spend time with, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of her work. Do you feel like each book got stronger? So by that logic, the books will keep getting stronger, and I'm excited to watch her writing flourish. Next, we have the poetry book that I read, and that's The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace. I have the whole trilogy. Women Are Some Kind of Magic. It reminds me a lot of Rupi Kaur's poetry. It's definitely in that like Instagram modern poetry style, and there is kind of a narrative in this one, and I like the way that she uses fairy tales to tell her story and to compare to. I kind of wanted her to use it a little more. I don't know, I find this style of poetry hard to decide what I think about it, because there's a lot of arguments that it's not poetry, and I can see why they think that, and I do think I personally really like the old-fashioned style of poetry, but there were some in here that I thought were really powerful and really beautiful, so I'm kind of like this. I don't know what to think. I read through it really quickly. I think it's very brave of her to tell her story, and she does it in a very rural way, and I can only give hats off to her for that. Yeah, I don't know what to think. There were some in here that were really pretty, but I don't think it blew me away. I think I'd give it somewhere between a 6 and a 7 out of 10. I also read 2 graphic novels this month, the first being Giant Days Volume 8 and the second being Giant Days Volume 9. I feel like I talk about these in every wrap up I do. They're fun, they're great, they're about 3 girls in university and their friendship, and it goes across all 3 years of them being at university. They're really funny, silly, cute reads. They go so quick. I loved these 2, and now all I want to do is read volume 10, but I don't got volume 10, so I have to wait. Really enjoyed these 2 volumes in particular. 6 and 7 I remember being particularly strong as well. I'm very excited to continue on with this series. 8 out of 10. Giant Days. And lastly, oh my god, I just like went on such a rampage about the Curse Breakers trilogy that now I'm like exhausted and I don't really know what to think about any of the other books. But I chipped away at an audiobook throughout this month, and that was Sadie by Courtney Summers. Been wanting to read this one for a really long time. I also really want to read the projects by her. I did the audiobook for this one, and I highly recommend the audiobook. It flips between Sadie's narration and a podcast, and it's full cast, and it's done really realistically with like background sounds and music, and it's done very, very well. I definitely, the more I read this one, the more I got invested in it as well. Started doing things so that I could listen to audiobooks. I wanted to find out what happened. This is a really gritty feeling story, and I really liked that aspect. I wasn't expecting that. And there's so many small details that I think really bring it to life. I will say that I don't know if it's the narration or the writing style of Sadie's parts, but something felt a little off about them to me. It could either be like the writing, probably the rhythm of it wasn't quite right, and so when it's being read aloud, something just kind of sounds off. Either that or the narrator. I just didn't gel with her style. I can't really tell which one it was though. The mystery unravels really slowly, and it's really like satisfying and gratifying the way you learn things. There are some times where like the narrator withdraws information even though you know something must have happened, and that normally frustrates me, but I let it slip in this one because it worked, I think. The one thing I can say about this one is there were a few moments where it just felt a little flat. It just like didn't punch the punch that I wanted to be punched, you know? I really enjoyed the end. I think you can have a couple different interpretations on it, and I think, I don't know, I can't decide what I think happened. Let me talk about the end for a second. If you've not read Sadie, mute the screen until I put the book down. So there's the debate, like, did Sadie die or did she not die? A lot suggest that she died, because why is his clothes, I can't remember his name now, like the guy that she went to confront, why was his clothes all muddy if he didn't kill and bury her? Like what happened there? And he hit her so hard, and that's the way he killed Maddie. And the way we end with her narration, we never come back to it. We never like see her listening to the podcast suggest that she died. And I think the way it's like left the way it is kind of feeling a little bit anticlimactic, and we've not heard from her for so long. I think puts more power to the suggestion that she was killed, and you're left feeling haunted and upset because that's the reality of the situation. I think that's what the author is trying to get across. But she stabbed him, and we never saw her stab him in her narration. So when did she do that? If when he hit her so hard that was when he killed her, when did she stab him? Like, and she never left information that crucial from us, unless she came to, stabbed him, and he hit her again. Did we ever find the knife? I can't remember. Yeah, overall, I think I would give Sadie an 8.5 out of 10. I think it was clever, and I think it was raw and gritty, but I don't think, like I said, it impacted me enough for me to give it a higher rating than that. And And those were all the books that I read in November. If you've read any of these and you have opinions, please let me know down below what you thought. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a marvellous morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye!